A single wrong answer at customs just cost a family their $8,000 vacation and got them banned from returning for 5 years. A businessman gave what he thought was a helpful explanation and spent 6 hours in secondary inspection missing his connection. And a retiree answered a simple question incorrectly. Now she has a permanent flag on her passport triggering interrogation every time she travels. Starting January 2026, Customs implemented AI-powered question analysis that detects inconsistencies you don't even realize you're making. One wrong word, one nervous hesitation, and you're pulled into secondary screening where things get serious fast. Here's what border agents aren't telling you. The questions aren't random small talk. Every question is designed to catch lies, uncover prohibited items, and flag travelers for investigation. There are specific words that trigger automatic secondary screening. There are answers that sound innocent but are legally incriminating. And the final question on this list catches travelers most often. Most people answer it wrong, and that wrong answer can result in penalties up to $10,000. Stay until the end, because what customs officers reveal about question 1 will change how you approach every border crossing forever. Question 10. What is the purpose of your trip? This question seems simple, but has hidden landmines everywhere. Your answer determines how the rest of the inspection proceeds, and certain answers trigger mandatory secondary screening that travelers don't realize they're causing. If you're traveling for tourism, say vacation or tourism, keep it simple and direct with no elaboration. Don't volunteer unnecessary details about every city you're visiting or every activity planned. If you're traveling for business, say business meeting or business conference, and have your documentation ready. But here's the critical part that catches people constantly. If you're doing any work on US soil, even checking emails or attending a single meeting, you might need a work visa rather than a tourist visa. Lying about this is visa fraud with serious consequences. Here's what you should never say. Don't mention looking for job opportunities if you're on a tourist visa because that's a visa violation. Don't say you're here to see if you like it before moving here because that implies immigration intent, which violates tourist visa terms. Don't mention doing freelance work remotely because working in the US, even remotely for a foreign company, can require work authorization. Marcus entered on a tourist visa and told the officer he was checking out potential business opportunities and meeting with some companies. That phrasing implied he might work or establish a business, both requiring different visas. He spent 4 hours in secondary inspection and now has a note on his file triggering extra scrutiny on every entry. The new AI detection systems implemented in 2026 analyze your verbal answer against your reports, visa type, previous travel history, and documentation. If your stated purpose doesn't match your visa category or contradicts previous entries, you're flagged automatically for additional screening. Question 9. How long are you staying? This seems straightforward, but your answer must match your documentation exactly and determines whether officers believe your intent to return home. Give the specific number of days or weeks. Say 10 days or 2 weeks clearly and confidently. If you have a return ticket, that's your proof and you should mention it. The trap here is saying you're not sure, maybe 2 weeks or maybe a month because you're flexible. That raises immediate red flags, suggesting you don't have strong ties to your home country and might overstay. Officers are specifically trained to identify potential overstay risks, and vague answers are the biggest indicator. For longer stays, if you're planning to stay several months, you must have evidence of ties to your home country, including employment letters, property ownership documents, or family relationship evidence. Never say as long as possible because that's an overstay risk flag. Don't say until my money runs out because that suggests insufficient funds and planning. Jennifer told an officer she was staying probably 3 months, maybe more if she liked it. Her tourist visa allowed 6 months maximum, but that phrasing suggested she might overstay. She spent 90 minutes in secondary inspection, proving she had a job waiting, property back home, and family obligations requiring her return. Question 8. Where are you staying? This question verifies you have legitimate accommodations and helps officers assess if your travel plans are credible. Provide specific information including the hotel name and location, or if staying with friends or family, their full name and complete address. Have this information written down or saved in your phone so you don't fumble trying to remember under pressure. If staying at a hotel, say I'm staying at the Marriott downtown at 123 Main Street. If staying with friends or family, say I'm staying with my friend John Smith at 456 Oak Avenue in Seattle and have their phone number available because officers may call to verify your story on the spot. What you should never say includes anything like, "I don't know yet. I'll figure it out when I get there." That's a huge red flag, suggesting insufficient planning, insufficient funds, or dishonest intentions. Don't say you're staying with someone you met online because that raises human trafficking concerns, especially for young travelers. Never give vague answers like "somewhere downtown" without specifics. Sarah said she was staying with friends in New York but couldn't provide names or addresses when pressed. Officers suspected she might be entering for unauthorized work or didn't have legitimate accommodations. After 45 minutes of questioning, they eventually verified her story, but she nearly missed her connecting flight. Officers can and do verify accommodations in real time. They might call the hotel immediately or call the person you claim to be staying with to confirm. Your answer must be completely true and immediately verifiable. Question 7. Do you have anything to declare? This is the question that carries the highest financial and legal penalties if you answer incorrectly. The critical legal standard is this: you must declare all items acquired abroad, all gifts received, all items you're bringing for others, and anything exceeding duty-free allowances. You must declare any items purchased abroad exceeding your duty-free limit, which is $800 for U.S. residents returning to the United States. You must declare all food items, including snacks, candy, produce, meat products, and dairy, with most being prohibited entirely. You must declare all alcohol and tobacco products, even if they're within personal limits. You must declare any medications, especially controlled substances or large quantities. You must declare items you're bringing for other people, even if they're gifts. You must declare any currency or monetary instruments totaling $10,000 or more. The declaration rule is simple. When in doubt, declare it. Declaring something and having it be allowed costs you nothing. Not declaring something that should be declared is smuggling under federal law, even if the omission was accidental. The penalties for false declaration are severe. Civil fines start at $300 and go up to $10,000 or more. Criminal charges apply for intentional smuggling. All prohibited items are seized with no compensation. Michael brought back an apple and a sandwich from his flight for a snack later. When asked if he had anything to declare, he said no. Customs found the items during a random bag check. He was fined $300 for failure to declare agricultural products and had to sit through a 30-minute lecture on biosecurity. That apple cost him $300 and nearly 2 hours of his day. Question 6. Have you visited a farm or been around livestock? This question is about agricultural biosecurity and preventing the introduction of animal diseases that could devastate domestic farming industries. Answer this honestly and completely, because false answers carry serious penalties. If you visited any farms, ranches, rural areas, animal markets, or had contact with any livestock during your trip, you must answer yes and declare it. This includes things casual travelers don't think about, like visiting a petting zoo, riding horses, or even walking through farmland. Agricultural contamination can occur through microscopic particles on your shoes, clothing, or luggage. After answering yes, you'll likely be directed to have your shoes cleaned or sanitized. This takes extra time, but it's mandatory. The cleaning process uses disinfectant mats and brushes to remove soil and organic material that could carry diseases. It typically adds 10 to 20 minutes to your customs process, but that's vastly preferable to the alternative penalties. Robert visited a farm in Ireland and had obvious soil on his hiking boots. When asked if he'd visited farms, he said no to avoid the cleaning delay. Customs inspected his bag, saw the muddy boots, and confronted him about the false declaration. He was fined $500. His boots were confiscated and destroyed, and he missed his connection anyway. Had he simply answered yes initially, his boots would have been cleaned and he would have made his flight. Question 5. Are you bringing any gifts? Gifts must be declared because they count toward your duty-free allowance. The gift exemption exists, but it's limited and has specific rules that most travelers don't understand. If you're bringing gifts, answer yes immediately and be prepared to state their approximate value. Gifts to U.S. residents are included in your $800 duty-free personal exemption. If the total value of all items you're bringing, including gifts, exceeds $800, you owe customs duties on the excess amount. Many travelers think gifts for others don't count, or that there's a special unlimited gift exemption. This is false. Everything you bring counts toward your allowance. Be honest about gift values. Customs officers are trained to assess values, and they have databases of typical retail prices. If you significantly undervalue items to avoid duties, that's fraud with the same penalties as failure to declare. Lisa brought back 5 designer handbags from France as gifts for family members. Total retail value was approximately $4,000. When asked about gifts, she said she had a few small items worth maybe $200 total. Customs inspected her luggage, found the handbags with price tags attached, and confronted her about the false declaration. She was assessed duties on the full value plus a penalty equal to the duties owed. Her attempt to save $300 in duties cost her over $600 in duties and penalties. Question 4. Has anyone given you anything to bring into the country? This question is about drug smuggling and terrorism prevention. Answer this with extreme caution, because even innocent package deliveries can make you an unwitting drug mule or explosive carrier. The rule is simple and absolute. Never carry anything for anyone else ever, under any circumstances. If someone asked you to bring a package, envelope, or even a small item for a friend or family member in the destination country, the answer is yes, and you must declare it. Customs will inspect it thoroughly, regardless of what you were told it contains. If it contains anything illegal or prohibited, you're responsible criminally, even if you had no knowledge of the contents. Drug smugglers specifically target innocent travelers by asking them to bring a gift for my cousin or some documents for my business partner. They're using you as an unwitting courier, and if caught, you face the criminal penalties. Never agree to carry anything you didn't pack yourself and don't personally know the complete contents of. David agreed to bring a sealed envelope from his hotel concierge to the concierge's cousin in Miami as a favor. At customs, when asked if anyone gave him anything to bring, he mentioned the envelope. It was opened and found to contain immigration documents for someone attempting to enter illegally. David spent 8 hours in federal custody, was interrogated, nearly faced charges for human smuggling document fraud, and now has a permanent flag on his passport. Question 3. What is your occupation? This question assesses whether your stated purpose matches your occupation and whether you might work illegally during your stay. Answer honestly, because Customs has access to employment databases and can verify your information. If you're employed, state your occupation simply. Say, I'm a teacher, I'm an accountant, I'm a software developer. If you're retired, say I'm retired. If you're a student, say I'm a student and have your student ID available. If you're unemployed, say so honestly and be prepared to show sufficient funds for your trip. The concern for Customs is whether your occupation matches your stated travel purpose and duration. If you're a teacher entering in July for 2 weeks of vacation, that's completely consistent. If you're a teacher entering in October for 3 months, that raises questions about how you can be away from your job that long. Question 2. How much money are you carrying? This question serves 2 purposes: ensuring you have sufficient funds for your stated trip duration and detecting money laundering. The legal requirement is that amounts of $10,000 or more in currency or monetary instruments must be declared. If you're carrying less than $10,000, state the approximate amount honestly. Say I have about $1,500 in cash and credit cards. If you're carrying $10,000 or more, you must answer yes and complete a declaration form. This isn't illegal, but it's legally required reporting. The penalties for failure to declare are severe. Civil forfeiture means all the money is seized. Criminal charges can result in 5 years imprisonment and fines up to $250,000. Never hide cash in creative places because X-ray machines detect currency easily. Don't split amounts between family members to avoid the threshold because family units are aggregated. But question number 1 is the one that catches travelers most often. Because this question seems completely innocuous, almost like friendly conversation, but it's specifically designed to catch people in lies about their intentions. The AI systems implemented in 2026 analyze your answer for micro-expressions, voice stress, and consistency with your documentation. One wrong phrase, one moment of nervousness, one answer that contradicts something else you said, and you're immediately flagged. What customs officers reveal about this question is shocking. They're trained that this single question exposes more violations than any other question in their arsenal. Question 1. Have you been to this country before? This is the most dangerous question because your answer is immediately checked against comprehensive databases containing every previous entry and exit. Any inconsistency between your answer and the database triggers automatic secondary screening. If you visited before, say yes, and be prepared to state approximately when and for what purpose. You don't need exact dates unless asked. If you've visited multiple times, say yes, several times. If this is your first visit, say no. This is my first time clearly. The danger is in 3 specific scenarios. First is saying no when you actually visited before but forgot or thought. It was too long ago to matter. The database goes back decades. If you visited 30 years ago as a child, that's in the system. Second is saying yes, but providing incorrect information about previous visits. If you say you visited 2 years ago, but the database shows 3 years ago, that's a discrepancy requiring explanation. Third is lying about previous visits because you had problems on a previous entry. When customs detects a discrepancy, you're immediately pulled to secondary inspection. They'll confront you with the database information and demand explanation. If you deliberately lied, that's lying to a federal officer and can result in denial of entry, visa revocation, and bans from future entry ranging from 5 years to permanent. The AI systems implemented in January 2026 add another layer. Facial recognition instantly pulls your complete travel history the moment you approach the desk. The officer has your entire history on their screen before asking the question. They're not asking to get information, they already have it. They're asking to test your honesty. Micro-expression analysis watches for signs of deception, including eye movements, facial tension, voice stress, and hesitation. Patricia visited the US 15 years ago on a tourist visa and overstayed by 3 months. When entering in 2026, she was asked if she'd been to the US before. She said no, hoping the old overstay wouldn't be in the system. The officer immediately pulled up her record showing the overstay. She was denied entry, her visa was revoked, and she's now banned from entering the United States for 10 years. Her lie attempting to hide the old overstay resulted in a decade-long ban. These 10 questions determine whether you enter a country smoothly or face hours in secondary inspection, thousands in fines, or bans from future travel. The implementation of AI analysis systems in 2026 has made deception virtually impossible while making honest travel faster. Know what you must. Declare, answer only what's asked without volunteering unnecessary information. Keep your answers consistent with your documentation and never lie to customs officers because the consequences far exceed any benefit from deception. If this breakdown helped you understand what customs actually wants and how to answer correctly, hit that like button. Subscribe for more travel insights that prevent expensive mistakes and legal problems. Drop a comment with which question surprised you most. International travel doesn't have to be stressful if you know what to expect. Preparation and honesty make customs inspections smooth and quick. Improvisation and deception make it a nightmare that can last hours and create permanent problems. Travel smart, answer honestly, and know your obligations. Your next border crossing depends on it.